My name is Dr. Fuller. I would like to introduce you to the mathematical world around you. Did you know that the middle cost for property in Atlanta is $346,600? That means half of the houses cost less than this value. The other half cost more. What about that the middle yearly household income is about $69,200? So half of the households in the Atlanta area make less than $70,000 per year. This information indicates that at least half of the households may have difficulty affording property in Atlanta. As of 2021, 95.5% of those living in Atlanta are American citizens, but 8.3% were born outside the United States. Those born outside the U.S. represent three primary countries: Mexico, India, and Jamaica. Furthermore, 47.7% of those living in Atlanta identify as Black or African American. People of Hispanic descent make up about 5% of those living in Atlanta. However, a bigger picture shows how diverse the population of Atlanta is. These are descriptive statistics. They summarize data and allow us to describe it. With a few numbers, we can understand large sets of information. The summaries allow us to condense the data of all 492,200 people in Atlanta in 2021 to a few manageable numbers. It would be overwhelming to look at each piece of data, but statistics allows us to see the data as a whole. Descriptive statistics provide information about what the center of the data looks like, how spread out the data is, and how the data is distributed. We can learn about what is typical around the middle of the data and where the majority of the data falls, if the data is tightly packed together or if it is spread thinly across many values, if there are clusters of data and where those clusters appear, along with other ways to summarize the data. Looking at a single number or a few numbers is so much easier than potentially hundreds of thousands of data points. If you live in Atlanta or are thinking about moving there, you might have some questions. For example, you might want to know if there is a difference in commute times between residents who use public transportation and those who drive. Perhaps you want to determine the relationship between neighborhood crime and location. When deciding where to live, you might want to know if access to parks and green spaces close to your home has an impact on mental well-being. Or maybe the social impact of new businesses and residents in your neighborhood is important to you. These and many more questions can be answered with inferential statistics. Inferential statistics are used to draw conclusions about a large group by looking at a piece of that group. They allow us to make generalizations based on the data we have collected. Different types of inferential statistics allows us to identify and model relationships, test hypotheses, determine the likelihood of a given data point appearing in a certain range, and gauge certainty. Being able to make a prediction from a relationship with a 99.5% certainty is so powerful, it's almost like magic. In my mathematical world, I have one little problem. Help me understand the difference between descriptive and inferential statistics by answering a few questions. If I lived in the city, I would love to be able to give up my car. City officials in Atlanta conducted a poll and found that 60% of voters in Atlanta support public transportation improvements. Is this a descriptive or inferential statistic? I hypothesize that even with 60% of the voters saying improvements are needed, Atlanta still meets my transportation needs. To attempt to prove or disprove my hypothesis, will I need descriptive or inferential statistics? I found an area of Atlanta with several small parks. I calculated the furthest walking distance from any point in the neighborhood to the closest park. For this neighborhood, I found that it takes about 3 2/10 blocks of walking to get to the nearest park. Is this a descriptive or inferential statistic? I wondered if the residents felt better about their lives and emotional well-being. I surveyed all the residents in the neighborhood and found the ages ranged from 2 months to 48 years old, with half of the residents being older than 31. Are these descriptive statistics or inferential? I also found with a 95% certainty that those living in the neighborhood reported a significantly better emotional state and quality of life because of their access to the parks. Is this descriptive or inferential? I want to know more about the population makeup of this neighborhood. Tell me a piece of data I might collect and what information I might learn from using descriptive statistics. I want to be able to make predictions about the neighborhood. Create 2 questions or hypotheses that may be answered with inferential statistics. Your question should reflect the following criteria. Include a time frame of between 5 years and 30 years. Include a piece of data you think might be useful. And be relevant to deciding if you want to live in a neighborhood. Take a look and you will see a mathematical world filled with data. Descriptive and inferential statistics are all around us in everyday life. You might use descriptive statistics to summarize the results of a survey of your classmates about their favorite hobbies. You could calculate different values to get an idea of the most popular hobbies. You might use inferential statistics to test the hypotheses that hobby preference is gender-related. You could collect data on the hobby preferences of a group of students and then use hypothesis testing to determine whether there is a significant difference between genders. In the world of marketing, companies might use this to tailor advertisements to reach the right audience. Both types of statistics are important and help you understand the data-filled world around you.